The Traveller's League Book 1 The Timepiece, written by Nick Goss. Grounded.
Where have you been?
Hoop's mum was upset.
I've been worried sick about you. How many times have I told you to come straight home after school? Sorry, Mum. I was trying to get home by 6:30, but I made a new friend at the park and I lost track of time again.
Hoop's mum said,
Well, I'm glad you're okay, but it's no excuse. You're grounded for a week. No friends, no park, and no going anywhere alone, understand?
Yes, Mum, Hoop said as he stared at the floor. He tried to look sad, but his hands were in his pockets feeling the paper scroll and the timepiece. All that he could think about was going to his room and checking out the gifts Smitty had given him. Hoop's mum sighed and said,
Who's this new friend? Does he go to your school?
But before he could answer, Mum glanced at her phone and sighed.
Shoot! I have to go to work now. I'm running late.
His mum gave him a quick hug and said,
Your dinner is on the table. Keep the door locked until I come home. If you need anything, you can call Miss Grankle next door.
Miss Grankle was the grouchy old lady next door. All she did was sit and watch TV and occasionally knocked on the wall when Hoops was being too loud. She liked Hoops and his mum and was a good neighbour, but didn't like the noise that 10-year-olds could sometimes make, and her apartment was so boring. If he went over there for something, she'd sometimes ask him to keep her company. He'd just sit quietly on the couch while she watched stupid shows where people yell at each other. Instead, he would make sure he was quiet and didn't have to go over and ask her for anything. It was way better to just figure things out on his own. His mum hurried out the front door. As soon as it shut, Hoops ran to his room like a rabbit with his butt on fire. He slammed his door shut and jumped onto his bed. He didn't even think about his dinner or how hungry he was. He was too excited. Bang, bang, bang. Miss Grankle heard his door slam and knocked on the wall.
Sorry,
he said in a loud voice. He sat down on his bed with his legs crossed and emptied his pockets. Holding the scroll, he rolled it between his hands, then rubbed his fingers over the red wax. He broke the seal in half, and a big roll of thunder boomed outside.
Wow, that was weird.
His heart raced as he unrolled the paper and read. The Traveller's Code. 1. It's not an adventure till something goes wrong. 2. You can only be brave when you're scared. 3. Through 4 gates and 5 worlds, by watch or by song. 4. Your journey is meant to be shared. 5. Adventures are wasted on those who don't learn. 6. Adventures must come to their ends. 7. But there's always another one around the next curve. 8. And in Traveller's Rest you'll find friends. 9. So cheer up, young traveller, adventure awaits. 10. The timepiece has chosen you to roam. 11. And no matter the time or where you go next. 12. At 6:30, you'll always come home. When he was done reading the scroll, he read it again aloud. Then he read it again. He read it over and over until he could recite it with his eyes closed. As simple as the poem was, it was cryptic enough to make his 10-year-old brain buzz with questions. He hummed a tune that fit nicely to the words so that it would be locked in his memory, a riddle wrapped in a song. He examined the timepiece again. It was made of tarnished, faded copper and was heavy in his hand. Popping the lid, he noticed it was still set to 1 o'clock. The batteries must be dead. I wonder what kind of batteries it takes. He flipped it over to find the cover for the batteries, but there were none. What a curious antique. Things must have been so different in ancient times. As he thought about how it was built and what could possibly make it run, he remembered what Smitty had told him. Don't wind it up until you get home and read the Traveller's Code first. Duh, he said aloud as he turned the little winding knob at the top. He then held it to his ear and could hear the soft clicking of the gears inside. Click, 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 click. A quick glance at the alarm clock by his bed told him the current time was 7:15 p.m. He set the hands of the pocket watch to match his electric alarm clock, but as soon as he let go of the knob, the hands on the timepiece slowly slid back to 1 o'clock. He tried again. Same thing. The pocket watch kept resetting itself to 1 o'clock. Hoops tried over and over again to set it to a different time, but each attempt ended in frustration. The pocket watch wouldn't work the way a normal clock should. He snapped the timepiece shut and tossed it on the bed in front of him.
"Stupid piece of junk,"
he blurted. Just then a crash of thunder pealed across the sky outside. It scared him, and he froze, staring at the timepiece for what seemed like several minutes. When his heart stopped racing, he carefully took the pocket watch in his hand again. The lid was worn like an old nickel. The copper colouring had been rubbed away over who knows how much time, revealing a silvery base metal underneath. It had certainly been used a lot and needed a good polishing, so he laid it in the palm of his hands and rubbed. Particles of dust in the air glowed like tiny yellow stars and began moving in a big circle around Hoops. He kept rubbing and they swirled closer and faster around him. They crackled as they whooshed around him, closer and closer, until he was in a micro-tornado of swirling magical dust. Whoosh! The world vanished.